Hi, Samantha. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
It's always such a pleasure to chat with you. And I am really excited about this episode because I know our viewers will really get to learn from your experiences. So thank you so much for taking out time, Samantha. Before we get started, for our viewers who may not be familiar with you, can you please take a few minutes to introduce yourself and tell everyone about your rich background?
Sure. So, hello, everyone. My name is Samantha Blackburn. Please feel free to call me Sam. All my friends do. I've got a bit of an eclectic background in market research. So, once upon a time, I was actually in a doctoral program because I wanted to be a business school professor because I loved teaching and research. And about a year into that, I started feeling like academia wasn't a great fit for me. So that was the point in which I pivoted to market research as a career. So I initially started at a small market research firm called SIR, and it was the perfect place for me to get my start. I learned all kinds of great things about different research methodologies and client service. I got to work in a variety of different capacities, categories, got to work for some really cool clients. So did that for about 5 years. And then after that, the nature, any of our agency researchers will I think identify with this. The nature of agency research is you kind of hand over the report and you don't always know what happens with that. You make your recommendations and you sit there and you wonder. And so I started getting this feeling like I wanted to be more of a corporate researcher. So now I am an in-house market research resource at WestRock. And if you're not familiar with WestRock, I will say that you maybe don't know our name, but I would bet money that you touched something that we made today. We are a Fortune 200 global juggernaut paper and packaging manufacturer. We make, if it's in a box or it's in the store, we likely have our hands in it. We do merchandising as well. So if you start thinking about things like, the box that your online order came in, or your pizza came in, or your cereal box, even to very innovative solutions like plastic replacement solutions, that's the space that we all play in. So now it's my role at WestRock is actually very similar, almost like my agency role. I'm an internal market research resource. So the only difference is all my stakeholders are my WestRock colleagues. So
that's a great introduction, Sam. And I think if people were wondering about your employer, then I think they will now not have any doubts about how global in scale your business operations are. So thank you for sharing that. With that type of scale and power comes great responsibility, right?
yes.
So when your leadership, Sam, comes to you and says, "Hey, great job," what are they typically relying on you for?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll speak to it's a little bit of a mix of WestRock leadership as well as the leaders that I worked with in my agency life. But I think first and foremost, we're all in business to make money, right? Whatever that is that we're doing, whether we're selling a product or a service. So I think when they're looking to me to help with a situation, it's to inform, how do we sell this thing, right? But typically when they're commissioning market research, what's really great about that is that is coming from a deep-seated desire to really understand their customer or their consumer or whoever it is that they want to sell to, whoever their target market is, really wanting to get smart about their unmet needs and what they want. And more than just that, how do we take those unmet needs and wants and how do we incorporate that into our product or our service to make it better so that, you know, we're winning when we're selling, we're beating our competitors, but it's because our stuff is better, right? We're making people's lives easier, giving them what they want. So they want to win for the right reason. And so that's typically what they're looking for when they come to me. It's just like, help me understand, you know, my target audience so we can build a better mousetrap.
That's great, you know, and I appreciate that experience share, Sam. Uh, you know, a lot of our peers sometimes, you know, face some of the same challenges as well, where they have their internal stakeholders coming to them to really better understand the customer and their behaviors, triggers, moments of truth, and all of that fun stuff. Can you please talk about when you are helping your internal stakeholders get closer to the customer, whether it's increasing sales or improving customer experiences, what are some of the challenges that you are navigating through in guiding your internal stakeholders?
Oh my goodness, so many challenges. Where to start? I think the biggest challenge that we face, and this one is specific to WestRock and its nature. We are a B2B company, so our customers are the huge, you know, CPGs of the world, retailers, folks like that. So we want to first and foremost understand them and their perspective. But I like to call us a B2B2C company, because when we're talking specifically about packaging, our end user is the consumer. It's the person who is purchasing these goods and using the packaging. So it is critically important that we understand them. And what's challenging is that they have very different needs, right? So when we're talking to our business customers, you know, our direct buyers, it's all about how the packaging is going to perform over the entire supply chain, versus a consumer perspective is like, I want to make sure that the packaging, you know, does what it's supposed to do, and it's easy to use and it's convenient and all that good stuff. So we really need to make sure that we're not only we know all of their needs, but are we hitting all of their needs? So that is a huge challenge. The global nature of our business is another challenge as well. I think last I checked, I think we operate in 30 different countries. And so, you know, that's a lot. These perspectives do often vary based on where consumers are because of different cultural experiences and a whole variety of different things. So we are trying to do multi-market research as much as possible. And then another challenge we get is just, you know, we have to sort of be an expert in all things, because, you know, as I said before, we have a really wide, we play in all kinds of end markets. And so we have to get really smart, really quick on whatever the category in question is, right? So today I might be researching beverage packaging, tomorrow it might be produce, the day after that it might be, you know, health and beauty. So just having that to code switch all the time can be very challenging as well. And then I think the last challenge that I'll note is the nature of packaging in particular. It's very experiential, right? It's about how it looks on shelf. It's about the opening experience. It's about you using it. It's about what happens after you're done using it. And we, you know, online research is wonderful, and we can do so much stuff online for, you know, quickly and cost effectively, but we can't test all of our use cases online, unfortunately. Sometimes we're having to get, you know, hands-on feedback from consumers. And so that can be a challenge from both a cost and a time perspective as well. I know that was a lot.
No, but you know that. No, but that's great, Sam. You know, you had so many valuable experience shares in that response. I loved it. And, you know, I want to double click a little bit on a few. so that I want to ensure our viewers don't drive by this quickly. I think the first thing that you talked about, having this mindset of, even though you are a B2B global organization, you championing really the cause internally of looking at this from a B to B to C perspective. We are one of the few customer journey slash insights slash shopper insights companies in the country as well that focuses on both B2B and B2C. And even from our perspective, we work with a lot of clients that are like you, that are primarily B2B. But that's also the mindset we are often trying to put them in is, yes, your business is, you're not selling to a Walmart shopper directly, you're selling to a Walmart, for example, but Walmart is focused on the end shopper. And that's the mindset they are expecting you to be in as well when you speak with them. So I think that mindset shift in looking at your business as a B to B to C is really strong, and it's really powerful. So I wanted to underline that. I think also, Sam, as you know, when we look at businesses in that sort of holistic way, it also helps you understand, customer journey stages and moments of truth much more accurately than if you were just looking at it from, one lens or a much more narrow lens. So I think that's also another benefit of, the way you look at these things. And then lastly, I loved how you were also focused on tactical issues like packaging, but then also looking at multiple different sectors or segments based on your needs. I think that's really cool as well, because it enables you to view the business, while shifting gears quickly. It enables you to not get too deep into the woods, but to remain focused on outcomes and impact much more than if you were sort of tunnel visioned into just looking at one segment, right?
That's exactly right. And we can draw conclusions and similarities and differences across the different segments. There's a huge value to having that cross category view. I agree.
Yeah, and that is also valuable, especially because as researchers, an experience share that I always like to share with our audience and our clients is, we as researchers are trained to go deeper into the how. How will we solve this problem? What new shiny research gizmo we'll be able to deploy, in solving this itch. But what I like to often guide clients and viewers is, yes, we can do the how, but the how is typically the easy part of a project. The tougher part is remaining focused on the what and the why. What are we trying to achieve, and why are we trying to do that? And I think in your role, that must be playing a big important part, especially as you wear different hats, right, across segments.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite questions that I think gets overlooked a lot is like, why are we trying to do this? Like, how are you going to use this information? Because if I'm doing a research study for, like I don't know, an internal strategy project, I'm gonna look at that. I'm gonna write questions a little differently. I'm gonna report it a little differently than if I know I'm doing some work that we want to use in the media. So, I mean, knowing what we're doing and why we're doing it is critical to the entire research process, right?
Correct. So let's jump into, an example or any experience shares, Sam, that you can share with us, specifically in context of, a situation where you had to go deeper into understanding the customer's journey. What was the challenge, how you overcame it, what was the impact for your organization? Is there any experience share or example you can share with us?
Yeah, no, we actually we just wrapped up a series of studies. It was a series of studies, you heard me right, that we affectionately refer to as sustainability signals. And so, and this one is a West Rock example that is totally fine to share publicly. But our strategy, if you are familiar with us at all, is that we are very deeply focused on sustainability. It's very much part of our value proposition. We feel like we have a very strong sustainable packaging proposition compared to other packaging options out there. And we are innovating and designing every day to get more sustainable packaging. But we realize that we, as packaging people, have a very specific way in which we define and interpret even the word sustainable. So we wanted to get really smart on what our stakeholders like what do they, how do they define sustainability? How does sustainable packaging play a role in the choices that they're making in store? What even defines a sustainable package to them? So we did a series of studies, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this one is because it was so robust. We had quantitative and qualitative components, and we collected both perspectives of packaging buyers, so our customers, as well as consumers, so the end users of our packaging. And we had some really interesting two of the studies in there were surveys, and we designed them as such that we could statistically compare responses between packaging buyers and consumers to kind of understand, are they aligned? Are they diverging? And so we got just a lot of really, really great information out of it. Like, for example, some of the interesting alignments that we found was that so sustainability, we know it has a lot of different elements to it. So if you think of like environmental, social, and governance, it could be all of these things that kind of wrapped up into one. But when we were talking to both our buyers and our consumers, we found that they really focused on that environmental component. So for them to be sustainable is to be eco-friendly. And they all very much leaned in on this goal of reducing waste. And so that was a really cool learning for us to understand, like, whatever we can do as a packaging supplier to reduce waste is going to resonate with both sides, right? And in terms of sustainable packaging in particular, there was like one theme that just kept rising up in all the research, and it was all around the importance of the packaging being recyclable. It's very, very closely integrated to how both buyers and consumers define a sustainable package, is whether or not they can put it in their recycle bin. So that was another really great eye-opening moment for us to understand the critical role that recyclability plays in how people define sustainable packaging. But there were divergences as well. So we measured the importance of sustainable packaging, and while it is important to a majority of buyers and consumers, it was more so important to buyers. So kind of like understanding that it's not playing as big a role for consumers as it does for our customers. That was an important learning. And willingness to pay, this is probably a related thing, right? We saw more willingness to pay, just generally speaking, on the buyer side versus the consumer side. So all these results have been super informative to our strategy. We're using them in customer conversations and presentations, and shout outs, shameless plug. If you're going to be at the market research event in October in Denver, I'll actually be there talking about this work with my director. And so if any of this is interesting at all, we'll do a deeper dive at that point. But that's the kind of thing we're doing as well. We're taking it to conferences and trade shows, and just kind of sharing what we know about packaging so that hopefully it helps our customers better satisfy the needs of their customers. So a lot of good stuff.
That's a great example. And no, the plug is not shameless. It's never shameless. You've done exciting work, and I'm all for, people being aware and learning more about the type of work you've done, Sam. So yes, no, everything is good. I also love this experience share and this example, Sam, because I mean, sustainability, yes, it's such a big issue, not just in your space, but across verticals. So this is something that I think you will get a lot of traction in at these conferences. And I actually appreciate that you're making the effort to highlight this and make others aware of, your findings and your approach. Also looking at this from a customer lens, what I really liked in the experience shared that you shared, Sam, was how, even though the focus was on packaging, but you were deep diving into sustainability issues. And, in the journey vernacular, we refer to these as moments of truth. And what I often like to say, Sam, is, and this is, these moments of truth, whether it's packaging or sustainability, but in between each project, these moments of truth are so critical for researchers to capture and fully comprehend because of two things. The first is, if you don't understand these moments of truth, then you as an organization are missing out on an opportunity to connect deeper with your customers. And, in the dance of the customer's journey, the customer will not stop their journey because you didn't give them what they were expecting from you at that moment of truth, but their journey will still continue. They'll just continue that journey holding a competitor's hand who was able to connect with them better, at that moment of truth. So that's reason number one why understanding these moments of truth, and you had several moments in your prior example. So I really love that you were pinpointing them and you were, drawing attention to them. The second reason why these moments of truth, Sam, as you know, are so important are because these moments of truth are also always changing. They either become pain points or they become peak points. If you understand these moments of truth and you give the customer what they want at that certain point in their journey, whether it's information or it's a better experience, whatever they are seeking at that moment of truth, then you convert it into a peak point where now the customer remembers that, I got this from you at that key moment, and I didn't get it from a competitor. So the dance still continues with you. But if it becomes a pain point, then, frankly, we've seen all types of bad things happen from, as I was talking about, a customer just abandoning their dance with you, moving on to a competitor. We've also seen cases, Sam, in key stages of the customer's journey where they may not abandon you, but because they didn't get what they were seeking at that moment of truth, maybe they reduce their order size with you. So, all kinds of things happen. And so I wanted to just double click on that. I thought that was really important, how you brought that out. And I didn't want to have viewers driving by that.
No, I love that too. It's like, what's the old, maxim? It's like the customer are going to remember when you dazzle them, and they're going to remember when you disappoint them, right? So we want to be on the dazzling side. We don't want to be on the disappointing side. Because you're right, they'll find someone who dazzles them, or at least doesn't disappoint them, right?
Correct. And, identifying these key moments, whether it's a packaging effort or a customer journey effort, we lay a lot of emphasis on that with our clients, Sam. In fact, we take it a step further. We actually tie it to the project's impact. So let's say we were doing a packaging effort or a journey effort. What we like to then do is tie these key moments to the impact they're having on the business. So, for example, if a customer was to say, well, I got this pain point, right? And maybe that pain point's coming at their time of selection or when they're making their purchase decisions. So we then ask the customer in the course of our research, and I'm just sharing this as an experience share for you and our audiences. That's a good moment to ask the customer, okay, so we've identified you experienced a pain point, you didn't get what you were seeking, and that's why this is a pain point. What is the consequence of this pain point? What are you going to do? Right? And then the customer may say, well, I'll just go with someone else. Okay. Well, if you do that, what was the amount that you were planning to spend, with us before you encountered this pain point? And so you get those amounts, right? Those dollar amounts from them. What we do in our practice, Sam, is we then tie those pain points, convert them into dollar amounts. Now, that could be a dollar amount if the objective of the project is to increase sales. For some clients, the objective, the why of the project is to improve customer experiences. So when you get that pain point, we're asking them, okay, well, what was the impact on your satisfaction? So there are ways to convert it into that impact item that ties to the what and the why. But the really cool thing is if you do it this way, Sam, then it's one thing to go to your leadership and say, look, we got these pain points, we need to act on them. But it's another thing to say, look, we identified these pain points, and oh, by the way, this is the impact it's having on our business. If we add up all these pain points, this is the dollar amounts we're leaving on the table. Or this is how we are impacting the customer with all these pricks and pain points that we're giving them. Their overall satisfaction with us continues to tank. And so what happens is doing it this way, we've seen, Sam, really gets leadership moving on. Oh my God, we never even realized that this minor an issue was really, impacting our business in so many ways. That's when action really happens, as opposed to the research just being another, nice piece of infographics that just sits on someone's desk.
Oh, I love everything you just said, and I'm gonna use that. Like, you're teaching me things here. I love that, and I'm 100% aligned with you in terms of, like, I never want the research to sit on the shelf. We're always pushing to drive action from it, and you're right. So much of my job as of the last few years has been telling that story about why this insight matters and the impact. So I love that that's the approach that you take with your studies. I think that's fabulous.
Oh, thank you, Sam. You're so kind. So wonderful. So one final question, Sam. I know we're almost at the end of our time. If you had to redo any of the research efforts that you've talked about, in hindsight, is there anything that you would do different, you would do better to improve?
I feel like at the end of pretty much any project, you learn something. You go, oh, I should have asked that question, or there's always something that you think you could have improved upon. So I think, generally speaking, the last example I shared was a good one, in that I kind of just want to do more of that, if that makes sense. So I love, love, love the integration of qualitative and quantitative methodologies, and trying even to bring in secondary data, as much information as we can to paint a clear picture, right? So I want to do more mixed methods research, and I want to do more of getting the multiple perspectives, whether it's multiple stakeholders, whether it's multiple geographies, and being able to see, how they align and how they differ. I feel like that's critically important. And so, I mean, it's always an issue of, do we have the time? Do we have the money? Right? Sometimes you have to make these hard choices in research and do your priorities based on time and budget. But as much as I can do those things, so mixed methods, multiple audience perspectives, that's really what I'm going to try to do in the future.
That's great, Sam, and thank you for sharing that. That is something we strongly recommend as well. Obviously, budgets and other constraints are always there, but I think your instincts about this multi-method approach, qual, quant, yes, definitely. We are big believers in that format as well. Because, qual gives you deeper insights, but it's tough to stand in front of leadership and say, I think we should make a multi-million-dollar investment in doing XYZ based on what 20, 30 people said, right? That's still better than taking decisions from, because I feel we should, right? So that is still important. But the quant then, does come in and add more muscle and statistical rigor around the projections and really making insights projectable. So yes, definitely compliment you on that approach, and we've seen it work really well with others as well. So I think you're on the right track. Lastly, I just want to end on a comment or a learning that one of my research gurus told me when I was starting out several hundreds of years ago. My mentor told me, don't expect one research project to remove your confusion, but yes, do expect one research project to elevate your confusion to the next level. So I know you know that, and I know a lot of our peers in research know that as well, but this is more for the end clients who, maybe tuned in. So with that, we're at the end of our session, Sam. Thank you so much for your experience shares. I think our viewers will pick up a lot of gold in this. So thank you again so much.
Thank you for having me.